All right, welcome to my Elm install tutorial. What you're going to do is you're going to open up google.com. You're going to search Elm install Windows. You're going to click on the first link, that is elm-lang.org. You're going to click on the third link because you're on Windows. You're going to wait for it to install by clicking installer once it downloads. Give Windows some time to open it up. It takes a little while. Open an executable. You never know. Click through next. Once you're happy with the folder, make sure you're happy with this stuff. Then you click next. Click next. You're done. Now, we're going to open the tutorial. Look at this. This is the Elm guide. It's got basically everything you need to know. What are some weird things about Elm? Who knows? But it's in here. So then you're going to open your terminal, because this is everyone's got the Elm installed now, which is pretty cool. We're going to make directory examples. We're going to change directory into examples. We're going to Elm init, which is basically, boot up a project. It's going to ask us to create a JSON file. We say yes. Great. Now, if you look at your folder, you got a bunch of stuff in it. What we're going to do is we're going to Elm Reactor, which is like a little server that it's going to run, and it tells you to open up a path or whatever, a URL, this folder. Let's open it up. Here we go. Look at this. We got a bunch of stuff. But what we're missing is any files, and you'll know that the tutorial tells you need to have them. So let's take this file. We're going to open up any text editor. I'm using Vim, which is pretty cool. This is hopefully going to work. Let's see if this works. Perfect. It did. I'm going to make a folder called May. Actually, let's call it Windows, just to show that it doesn't need to be anything in particular. This is the file. Now, it's missing something, but that's okay. Well, let's see what happens. So we're going to refresh our page. Windows Elm. It's complaining that you need a line at the top of your file. This is actually a good case of Elm teaching you how to use itself basically out of the gate. The reason that the tutorial doesn't need it is because it's using a special editor to do this. So it's already got, a bunch of it built in. But we're doing it ourselves. So we're doing here. We're going to go to the top of our Windows folder. We're going to paste this bad boy in. We're going to save it. Now we're going to refresh our page. Now it's complaining. It should not have any spaces, and that's, of course, because I have a space here. So let's erase that. Look at this. Now, if we open up side by side, we got our code running, and we got Windows next to it. Look at that. How this basically works is functional programming is, a lot of stuff. Easy to read, yes. So let's go through this real quick. We're gonna click up and down, right? So here are your buttons, up and down. Let's change minus. Well, once I search for it, that is minus to minus, and then we're gonna change this to plus with a lowercase plus. To be honest, that should have actually. I guess it doesn't hot reload. That's fine. Here we are. Minus, refresh our page. Look at that. Easy peasy. You can see the connection here. So what is going to happen is when you on-click this button, this event is going to get fired, basically. And then the buttons are tied to these messages. Don't worry about that yet. Just the idea that there's two events that can fire, increment and decrement, and how they're handled is in this update function. This update function increases or decreases our model's value. The model is defined here when we init it to 0. There we go. Look at that. Let's say instead of adding 10, we want to actually, instead of adding 1, let's add 99 to it, just for funsies. Let's go back in here. We're refreshing. Now when you click plus, you got a bunch of pluses there. Let's add a new button. Let's say reset, and then we'll just say, instead of model minus anything, we'll just say 0. Now Elm will complain and say, what is this? I don't know anything about a reset variant. What does this mean? What it really is trying to say is that it doesn't know, well, what in the world reset is. So let's get there. Let's say or reset. And now let's see what happens. It works. And the reason it works, of course, is that I don't use reset anywhere. So let's add that button. Let's just call it reset. Let's imagine a world where we have good variable names. And then we're going to do on-click reset, and then we're going to refresh our page. Look at that. Plus, I don't like that. Let's just do a little bit of a little fun here, and let's refresh. Look at that. Look at that web dev. So we've got our add 1 plus 99 minus 1, I should say. Then we've got a reset button. Look at that. Doesn't even need anything. Let's say we have a fun time and we want to have. No, let's just say power up. Okay, it's 2005. Let's just do this right now. How do you think this is going to work? We're just going to easily add this button. We're going to say power up. We're going to say unparalleled power. Power, look at this. Now we're losing a little bit of steam. He's getting tired. Huh? I don't know what power up is. Huh? I can't find a power up variant. Well, we can solve that. We can just add it, right? Now we refresh that page. Unparalleled power, 9001. Pretty cool stuff. Let's skew 99. Let's go back to 1. Let's see what happens when we add a little more information. What would be more information? Well, let's say, I want to add even more data to my app. It's hard to believe. One single digit might not be enough. So let's do something called types, right? This is like a enum basically, if you're familiar. But let's do a record, which is like an object in JSON. We'll type alias. We'll call this model, and we'll say integer, and then that's basically it. We're gonna you know what? That's it. Let's do that. We're fine. There's no bugs here. We don't write bugs at this place. We're going to do instead, we're going to make a function that returns our custom init function, right? It's going to return our 0, and we're going to take our 0. So this is just literally a function that returns 0, and we refresh our page. Everything works as you expect. We want our value here to be a little more variable-like, a little more structured, I should say. So let's do this. Watch this. Value equals 0, and we make our integer value integer. What is this? Vim's going to complain. It doesn't expect this. It's like, hey, hold on a second here, guys. All your things are dealing with integers and numbers, whereas you're passing in something that does not at all look like a number. Let's mess with this a little bit. Let's fool around. Let's have a little fun. So what this is going to be is we're going to have to update all of our functions to use this model. Yeah, that's pretty easy. First now, basically, you'd be like this, right? You'd be saying model or value, right? You'd be like, oh my goodness, I need to do all this, but it still doesn't solve the problem of our update function returning a number instead of a model, which we've defined here as a value. And the reason, I'll say this as an aside, the reason the value and numbers don't connect yet is because I haven't wrote any type signatures to tie them together, but that's a detail we can worry about. Because, I mean, literally the init function is returning a model, and that won't change anything. Look at that. But don't worry about that yet. So, what we're going to do, we're going to fix all this. So the first thing it's complaining about is that update returns an integer and not a model. Right? See, it's like, oh my goodness, it takes a model and returns a model, but here it's taking some weird thing and returning an integer. So let's go in here and let's return this thing. We're going to say update takes in a message, model and returns a model. Now what changes? Something is off with the fourth branch here. This returns a number, but it expects us to return a model. Why is the case? Why is that? Well, we've defined here as returning a model. And we're not returning a model here, are we? We're returning a 9001, as it says. So let's just fix that, right? We're going to say, well, we're going to return a model as we think, right? As we'd imagine. And this is going to cause problems. See, in Elm, you can't really just assign a value to something. You got to update it. You might make a copy. Who knows why? Maybe philosophy will tell us. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to update our record. We're going to say update the field value of this model object to 9000. And we're going to do the same thing everywhere. We're going to basically we're just going to pretend like this makes sense to everyone here, and we're just going to take it. We're just going to pretend. Look at this. Just a little bit of boilerplate, but that makes everyone a little happier when it comes to code review time. So I think I did everything right. I did. Didn't have a freaking doubt in the world. Look at this. So we're minusing a number. Everything acts exactly the same. But we're using this fancy model type, right? Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Let me show you one cool thing, okay? This is a function signature. right? So if I go back to my init function and I make its signature also a model, nothing complains, right? Because it already has, you know, the values and stuff we want. Let's say we make a typo somewhere. This is going to be pretty similar to how you'd expect things to work in TypeScript, right? Like if I make a typo and I call it a val-e, and let's see what Elm says. Elm says, hey, I don't know what value is, but maybe value should be value. Holy jumping is right. Let's change it back to value, refresh our page. Perfect. I mean, that's a pretty solid example. You know, I can't possibly imagine anyone having a problem with this. Let's just format this bad boy, right? Let's press the Elm format. Look at that. So much more white space. Yeah, let's call it there. Thanks for watching.